Hello there, Ted with the Multi-Emperor Report. Going to do the report in English this time instead of doing the Spanish first or whatnot, so we can talk about this cyclone over here. Phailin is, I believe, how it's pronounced. I looked it up. It's the Thai word for sapphire. So the Thai word for sapphire is going to be a very devastating storm. So let's take a look at all that we've got. We've got satellite loops showing Phailin moving on in. This thing is still, look at that. That thing is still quite huge. On the Hindu.com, they've got disaster on doorstep for those areas. So that's a fun headline, isn't it? Right, and in the India Meteorological Department, they talk about the land hazards with, of course, the possibility of very heavy rains, inundations, flooding, stuff of the sort. Of course, this thing is supposed to be what the equivalent of like a Category 5 hurricane. It's basically right now topping out the scale. It's about as strong, because there's no Category 6 typhoon, there's no Category 6 cyclone, no Category 6 hurricane. So that's big storm, is the point I'm trying to make. So, very destructive winds, of course. Storm surge, a big problem with this thing. And then, of course, it's got where they're expecting the damage. And there's already been evacuation. So that's, of course, good because, you know, if there are places where you're just basically, in certain types of storms, there are certain types of situations where you're not going to survive if you happen to be in that specific type of situation. So it's not good. It's not something you want to roll the dice with. So yes, rains, winds, storm surge, I'm sure dangerous surf conditions. So absolutely don't be going out and surfing in this sort of thing. So yes, huge storm, Phailin, Thai word for sapphire. Right, now over to the Northwest Pacific, we've got Nari. I have no idea what language that is or if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And we've got Wipha. Again, things I don't know how to pronounce. In Pagosa, in the Philippines, they're calling this one Santi. And by this one, I mean, and I've already... Nari, if that's how it's pronounced, /Santi. They have a signal number 3 on that one for winds in excess of 100 kilometers. Or is it 180? Greater than 100 to 185 kilometers per hour. So that's a lot of winds too. And of course, you know, rains, heavy intense rains, flooding, all that sort of stuff, landslides. And yeah, this thing, however, do believe at the moment, far enough out, away from land, so no land hazards on that one, but of course it looks like it's going to intersect with some islands that are out there and get quite possibly close enough to Japan to cause some hazards with that. And yeah, but over here in the Eastern Pacific and in the Atlantic, it's all about probability. So this thing, 50% chance in the next 48 hours, and this thing, also 50% chance. What do we got? We've got Octave and Lorenzo are the names of the next storms. And the 60 and the 50 is for the next 5 days. So this thing is as high as a 60% chance in the next 5 days. And this is as high as just a 50 in the next 5 days. And yeah, so that is what is happening in the land of tropical cyclones in English. So now we're going to try to transition over to español. Okay, we'll see. So aquí hay un ciclón muy grande. Está aquí en el satélite Phailin. Cyclone Phailin está moviendo hacia India. En India, esta es la satélite loop satélite, no sé. En India hay una evacuación, no sé la palabra en español for evacuation, sí, y hay los peligros afectando tierra, tiene los peligros afectando tierra o algo. Lluvias, vientos, mareada ciclónica y damage. Daño es la palabra en español. Daño se esperan daño en todas partes. Y por aquí en el noroeste pacífico hay una tormenta, un typhoon o algo así, Nari y Tormenta Tropical Wipha. Y en las Filipinas tiene un señal de número 3 para vientos muy fuertes con este sistema Santi/Nari. Sí, y tiene la posibilidad de lluvias fuertes y deslaves y más. Y este es Tormenta Tropical Wipha y creo que en el momento no hay ninguna peligro afectando tierra. En el Pacífico Occidental hay una zona de probabilidad de 50% en el momento y 60% en los próximos 5 días. Y en el Atlántico tiene una probabilidad de 50% también. Y en los próximos 5 días también 50%. Y esto es todo en español para hoy. Creo que sí. Un tifón. No es un tifón. Un ciclón muy, muy grande. En esta parte por aquí. Grande. So, in US, severe thunderstorm weather, not quite as end of the world, is it? 5% chance of a tornado, as high as a 15% chance of winds. There is a tornado watch in effect, and even though there was a line starting up, quasi-linear convective system or whatnot, no warnings were in effect as the time when I loaded the page. But tornado watch for Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, till 8 p.m. Central tonight. In general, today, this is the map showing the probability of 58 mile per hour and greater winds. There's a map showing the probability of 1 inch or larger hail. And then today, as high as a 5% tornado chance. So somewhat overlapping with where the highest probability of damaging winds is where the highest threat of a tornado is today. Tomorrow, tapers off a bit to just a 5%. But that is a pretty big coverage area for 5%. But yeah, nothing like having a cyclone. It's nothing of the sort of like having a cyclone bearing down on you. So that's at least the good news. Yeah, somehow. SevereWeatherTV.com is the official homepage of the screencast. WikiWix is WICKEDWX.com. And Cyclocane is CYCLOCANE.com. And that is it for today. And hopefully you're staying safe out there.